Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, Mr. President Pro Tem, members of this General Assembly, distinguished guests and fellow Vermonters. 2 weeks ago, we gathered to commemorate a new day in our state's long and rich history. In that inaugural address, we laid out a bold and ambitious agenda for job growth. And hold on just a sec. Thank you. Don't believe in technology. In my inaugural address, I laid out my vision for Vermont, a bold and ambitious agenda for job growth whose success depends on our ability to work together to get tough things done. That was a day for Vermonters to challenge our imaginations for what we must make possible: a new and innovative economy, quality health care for all Vermonters in a cost-restrained system, broadband and cell service to every corner of the state, and educational excellence for a new century of job creators. I stand here today to present a budget that is as sobering as it is necessary, matching state spending with our state's revenues, and keeping with a long tradition of frugality and common sense that is the lifeblood of Vermonters. My budget puts Vermont on a solid and sustainable path to fiscal responsibility. Facing our 4th consecutive year of budget shortfalls, I am committed to making the painful choices today that will help ensure that we are not back here next year making more drastic cuts. We must match the promises government makes with the capacity of Vermont's taxpayers to support those promises. To meet that responsibility, I'm proposing to close a $176 million shortfall in the next fiscal year by imposing roughly $83 million in general fund reductions, raising $36 million in additional federal funds through provider and managed care assessments, utilizing $27 million in anticipated receipts, and $30 million in global commitment carry forward and federal matching grants. I would like to take a moment to acknowledge what our state has done addressing projected budget shortfalls over the past 3 years. Hundreds of state employees' jobs have been eliminated. Many agencies and department budgets were reduced several times. State employees took a 3% pay cut for 2 years, and teachers' retirement was recalibrated to save $15 million in this fiscal year alone. Compared to other states, Vermont's governor and legislature responded quickly and wisely to crisis, and you should be commended for that response. Some might be wondering, why do we have a $176 million problem rather than the $150 million shortfall that we have all heard about? Here's why. If we were to continue to book all of the hoped-for Challenge for Change savings, the shortfall would be $150 million. While Challenges for Change was a well-intentioned initiative, we simply cannot budget $26 million in savings that may not likely be realized, and therefore I won't. This budget also includes over $120 million in unavoidable increases resulting from statutory commitments to the education, unemployment, and pension funds, as well as rising human service caseloads resulting from the Great Recession. Even with these increases, when adjusted for temporary federal aid, the budget that I propose today represents a general fund spending reduction of over $25 million from last year. This is the first time in a decade in which state spending is lower than the previous year. The top contributors to the $83 million in reductions are as follows. A $23 million ongoing reduction from the general fund transfer to the education fund. This reduction, which I announced last month, will require continued spending restraint from our hardworking school boards and local communities to hold back property tax increases. The $19 million in one-time federal funds that I am releasing this year will give our local communities additional time to make further spending reductions, but they must be made. We have $12 million in government, labor, private contract, health insurance, and retirement savings. $7.2 million in savings throughout the corrections system. $5 million from folding the Catamount Health Program into the Vermont Health Access Program, otherwise known as VHAP, to create a single health care pool for Vermont. And $4.6 million in reduced funding for our regional mental health agencies. My administration takes no pleasure in delivering this budget, and we will work in partnership with the mental health, health care, and human service community to ensure that vulnerable Vermonters are protected. Critics will observe that some of the budget reductions that I put before you today are the same reductions that I worked with you to protect when proposed by the previous governor. They will rightfully ask, what has changed? My response is simple. What we face in this budget is the reality that the hundreds of millions of dollars of stimulus funds that were allocated by the federal government to cushion the blow of the worst recession in American history are now gone. We all knew that this day would come. It is now our responsibility to make the difficult choices and to find the balance between compassion for our most vulnerable citizens and the imperative to put our state on solid fiscal footing. I believe this budget achieves that balance. In addition to reducing spending, my budget maximizes federal dollars available to our state. For over 20 years, Vermont has asked our hospitals and healthcare providers to cooperate in a partnership that has used ingenuity to utilize federal dollars to support healthcare services for Vermonters. My administration understands that in these difficult times, every dollar that we draw down from the federal government is a dollar saved for Vermont's taxpayers. Therefore, I am expanding upon what is an imperfect but effective revenue stream. We do so by applying the same assessment to health insurance companies and dentists that we have been applying to our hospitals and nursing homes. This will net $9.2 million new dollars for the general fund. Second, we increase the current assessment on hospitals and nursing homes, which will net $18.7 million federal dollars. Some recent good news about our revenues from fiscal year 2011 has helped our effort. My budget utilizes $27 million in general fund unanticipated revenues to bridge our shortfall. Some might ask, why am I not utilizing the state's rainy day fund? There are two simple answers. First, we must minimize the use of one-time money to meet ongoing financial commitments. Second, we must preserve the rainy day fund until we can project with confidence that we will be able to replenish that fund in the out years. My budget team cannot provide me with the assurance for fiscal years 2013 or 2014 and therefore we must not tap into those funds this year. In light of the hundreds of millions of dollars in budget shortfall that we've had to endure over the past few years, it should be abundantly clear that the current reserves of 5% of our state budget is not adequate to withstand tough times. I call upon the legislature to join me in raising our reserves to 8% as soon as we return to better times. Critics might also ask, why are we not raising taxes? After all, Illinois recently raised its top income tax rate from 3% to 5%. But remember, Vermont is not Illinois, and our situation is vastly different. Our top income tax rate is not 5%, it's nearly 9%. Our tax rates must remain competitive with other New England states to grow jobs. It's that simple. Others might say, well, forget Illinois and remember Governor Snelling. When facing a less severe shortfall, he temporarily raised income, sales, and rooms and meals taxes. But I would remind my friends that Governor Snelling was working in economic times less dire than our own. And he started with an income tax rates that were lower than the rates of today. The sales tax was 4%. Today, it's 6%. Our rooms and meals tax was 7%. Today, it's 9%. The Snelling solution made sense then, but it would be counterproductive today.